an ocean in the middle of the desert.
Dubai is spending $50 billion on this.
They are changing nature itself, on purpose, forever. Every wall here has to survive being surrounded by sand and seawater at the same time, forever. A line the desert never had, drawn permanently across it. So how do you actually bring an ocean into a desert and keep the desert from taking it right back? Let us find out. Before it can hold an ocean, this ground has to start as exactly what it has always been: sand. Every piece of this canal's walls has to cross the same desert. It is about to change forever. Even the sand that gets reused here has to be processed first. Not all of it is stable enough to build with. Every batch has to hold its shape under water pressure, and it was never originally built to handle. Alongside the sand, an entirely different kind of concrete is being mixed, built to survive constant contact with seawater in the middle of a desert. Every batch is tested against decades of saltwater exposure before it is ever approved.
This mix has to reach the desert while it is still workable.
Before anything is dug, they have to understand exactly what is underneath this exact stretch of desert. Every panel here will eventually hold back both sand and sea at the exact same time.
Through the exact landscape they are about to permanently change, the material for that change makes its way in. The material has arrived. Now it has to become something strong enough to keep an ocean exactly where the desert never wanted one. Before a single grain of sand is moved, and they already know exactly where this line needs to cut through. The very first cut into a stretch of desert that has looked exactly the same for thousands of years. What starts as a single line quickly becomes something wide enough to actually hold water.
Every meter of depth here was calculated long before the first shovel of sand ever moved.
Before any water ever touches this ground, it has to be sealed completely. This grid has to hold the entire canal together, even as sand and water constantly push against it from opposite sides. Every wall panel here has one job: keeping the desert on one side and the water on the other, permanently separated.
Every single seam has to be sealed immediately. A slow leak here means the desert wins eventually.
Kilometer by kilometer, a border begins forming between two things that were never supposed to touch. Before it is trusted with real seawater, and every section has to survive a test built specifically to break it. When it passes the next section, gets the same green light. Hundreds of sensors like this one will quietly track pressure along this canal for decades to come. To dig a canal deep enough for real boats, and they need equipment usually reserved for open water, not open sand. Every meter deeper here means more room for the ocean, and this canal is eventually going to hold. Even the edge where sand meets structure get a deliberate, golden finish. The color underwater was chosen deliberately too, a teal that will make this canal look nothing like the desert around it. For the first time, you can see exactly what this transformation is going to look like, finished. This is the exact point where the ocean will eventually be allowed to start flowing inland. When this gate finally opens for real, there will not be any room for hesitation in how it performs.
The further this canal goes, the stranger it looks. A straight line of nothing but empty desert on either side of it. Even before the water arrives,
and the buildings meant to sit beside it are already going up.
Halfway across the desert, and the sand still has not found a single weakness in the wall. This is exactly the kind of moment the entire design was built to survive. When the storm passes, the work continues exactly where it left off. Even crossing this new stretch of water needed its own solution, one that did not exist here before, either. Every support here has to hold weight over water that did not exist in this exact spot a few years earlier. Even before the canal is finished, and the places where boats will eventually dock are already taking shape.
Before this becomes a livable waterfront, an entire infrastructure network has to run beside every meter of it.
Even unfinished, you can already see exactly where the desert's story is about to change.
Every inch of this transformation still passes through very ordinary, very careful human hands.
Working this close to open water, in the middle of a desert, means safety here is never treated as optional.
This chamber controls exactly how much ocean this desert is allowed to have at any given moment.
Not every meter of desert reacts to water the same way, so not every meter gets the same reinforcement.
Somewhere along this canal, someone is always watching exactly how much water is actually here, right now.
After all of this, only one final stretch of canal wall remains unfinished.
The very last stretch, built with exactly the same care as the very first.
And with that, the entire canal is finally completely whole.
From up here, it is hard to believe an entire ocean's worth of change depends on a wall this thin.
Even the very last gate gets the same careful finish as the very first one.
For the first time, this entire canal can be watched, end to end, from a single control room.
Soon, this canal will not just cut through the desert by day, it will glow through it, every single night. After all of this, sand, concrete, and constant vigilance, an entire stretch of desert stands transformed. Even now, the smallest detail is never rushed. One by one, the machines that redrew this desert now leave it behind. The site that once roared with machines now falls silent. What is left behind will outlast every one of them. Even a canal built to prove a point still needed somewhere for people to actually walk beside it.
If anything ever needs to happen fast, this system can lower the water level faster than most people would expect.
Here, emergency response is not a formality. It is tested until everyone can do it without thinking.
This station tracks the ocean's behavior, even though most of what matters happens well inland from it.
A clear boundary, letting the view stay open while keeping everyone safely on the right side of it. Even the structure that lets the ocean in gets finished with the same care as everything around it. A small plate, marking the exact point where a $50 billion decision to change the desert actually began. Around this new stretch of water, an entirely new kind of desert skyline begins rising alongside it. After all of this, sand, concrete, and years of engineering, an entire waterway now cuts through ground that used to be nothing but desert. Before it is ever declared finished, and the entire canal is checked, meter by meter, one final time.
James, for the first time, someone is officially watching this entire system, ready for the moment the ocean actually arrives.
And just beyond this wall, the desert has not gone anywhere. It never will. Entirely.
Every light, checked and working exactly as designed. Every utility here now runs alongside water that has existed in this exact spot for less time than most of the people about to live beside it. One last walk along something they spent years building, before it belongs to the people who will actually live beside it. Everything is ready. Everything except the ocean itself.
Every calculation, every panel, every gate, approved, one final time.
For the first time, the ocean is actually allowed to start moving inland. Kilometer by kilometer, water that used to belong entirely to the ocean now belongs to the desert too. No fireworks, no big celebration, just quiet confirmation that it actually worked. The very first boat to ever travel along water that did not exist here a few years earlier.
From right here, on the water, the desert looks like it is the strange thing, not the other way around.
Most of them will never fully understand what it took to build this. All of them will still want to see it for themselves.
Within weeks, what once seemed impossible becomes just another part of the daily rhythm in the desert.
One canal, one rewritten landscape, and a desert that will never quite look the same again.
Every sunrise now reflects off water that the desert never expected to hold.
This is not just sand and concrete. This is what happens when a place decides its landscape is not
An ocean in the desert, $50 billion, and a landscape that will never fully go back to what it was.
This video is created for education and information purposes using advanced AI tools and human creativity. All concepts, scripting, and storytelling are independently developed to ensure originality. Visuals and animations are generated or enhanced using AI technologies such as VO3, Meta AI, and Grok AI, while final editing and post-production and completed using CapCut and other professional editing tools. No external created content has been copied or reused. Any semblance to real-world environments, factories, or processes is purely coincidental. All scenes shown in this video are digitally created and do not represent real footage. This content is produced with transparency and follows YouTube monetization guidelines.